But what about that penalty and the wonderful coolness of Peter Storey in taking it at that very last minute? Before he'd hardly got his breath back yesterday, I asked him about it.
Well, so was it a corner or a free kick? I can't remember really. I think Frank got up to it and headed it down and someone punched it away, didn't they?
That's right. Mahoney. Now tell us about the moments leading up to striking that ball past Gordon Banks, though. What were you thinking of that?
I was praying, really. I thought, it's got to go, we can't miss it now.
The most important kick you've probably ever taken in your life, I would think, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, I think so, yeah. Must be, yeah.
Yes, indeed. But you've had some success with penalties this season, of course, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's the fifth or sixth one I scored. I've missed one in the first cut, but I've had quite a few in the last minute. Three, I think. It was my third one in the last minute, I think.
Don't keep doing that for the sake of Arsenal supporters. What about the first one you scored? After 50 minutes?
Yeah, I just got knocked down, and I come on the edge of the box and hit it on the volley. I didn't see it going, actually. I went through a crowd of players and...
Slight deflection, I think.
Yeah, I think it caught someone's shoulder or something, didn't it?
But credit to Peter Storey. Did you think you were lost when you were 2 down at half-time?
Well, we felt a bit down, you know, but we come out, you know, decided to have a go in the second half and it worked out in the end. We gave them 2 goals, I think, you know, in the first half. We had 2 bad goals. I thought we played quite well really. You know.
And they played even better in the replay at Villa Park, and goals from George Graham and Ray Kennedy put them into the final. This was followed immediately by Chelsea in the league, who the previous week had beaten Leeds 3-1 to help, indirectly, the Arsenal cause as the battle and the pace hotted up.
A few boos coming up from the Chelsea supporters and a free kick for their team. Hudson really was knocked to the ground there by Storey. Hollins with the throw and the linesman's flags gone up. Ball's good! He's kicked it! Has it gone over? But no, the whistle have gone in any case on that goal line, and the linesman had his flag up a long time before the whistle went as well. So there were 2 offences there, but Chelsea desperately close to going ahead. Harris getting in there, and in fact I think Harris was playing the ball, but he must have connected with Armstrong. The linesman was right there and flagged, and the referee endorsed what he said, and so it's a free kick again against this Chelsea skipper. Going to the Arsenal with Armstrong, floating it once more. Kennedy looking for it, but Webb in fact getting ahead to it first. And Webb, having cleared it to Baldwin, was streaking up the field himself. Kennedy turning it on. Webb now trying to get back as Radford turns it in, and just wide there by George Graham. Kennedy to George Graham. The one towards the near post. Storey getting in! Oh, against the post! What a beautiful cross throw by Graham, and Storey of all people popping up in that 6-yard area. There he is. Charlie Cook with the corner there. Dempsey and Osgood. Dempsey getting ahead to it, and Paul going to flick it in, but in fact the whistle had gone. Because Dempsey was levering himself up onto the shoulders of an Arsenal defender. Charlie George again bursting in on the scene there, and McCready going with him, but he still found Radford, and now George Graham. Armstrong coming in on it. Beautifully played there by Armstrong. Oh, the dummy there, and it's Kennedy in! Oh, fine goal by Kennedy! Armstrong played his part, George played his part, and so too did Ray Kennedy. With a free kick towards the far post there. Radford with his head just over. Climbing well at that far side, John Radford. Chelsea coming forward now in the fair for the strength, but being pushed back once more. And now George to fasten on this one to show his speed. Radford, George, and now Kennedy claims for offside, but not given, and a second goal by Ray Kennedy. George absolutely delighted, and as that one came across, Chelsea was standing still,
valuable win. But the Bertie Mee Don Howe philosophy of letting the action do the talking was severely tested when Arsenal were forced to play their rearranged game with Spurs 5 days before the cup final. But unless Arsenal could keep the winning run going, that date with Spurs might be meaningless. By the time they played Newcastle at Highbury, the gap at the top had been closed, and Leeds, under relentless pursuit by Arsenal, were wobbling. But they needed a match winner here, and they found one. An obvious candidate. He'd been having a poor game, he'd been booked, and then he scores an exceptional goal. Charlie George. Since he'd come back in February, he'd won a couple of cup ties like that, but this was even tastier. Leeds had lost at home to West Brom, Arsenal were top on goal average, and the chase goes on.
Now some more action for you to enjoy, and it's that vital match at West Bromwich Albion yesterday, with Arsenal still under great pressure, but they fought magnificently in a game that really had its full quota of goals and thrills as well.
Pat Rice forward to Story. Story a little difficulty from time to time this afternoon. It's Hartford now. Aspel, Hartford, the return ball. Hartford! Oh, what a great little goal! What a magnificent little goal from Asa Hartford! His first goal for 5 months, and he will do much better than that this season. 37 minutes gone. Asa Hartford gives West Bromwich Albion a 1-0 lead. Arsenal get their second corner of the game. Armstrong with it. Oh, it's a good one. And hooked away for George. And it must be McClintock. Got to be McClintock. But the fellow who really set that up was Charlie George. There he is, number 11. He's the man who really set it up. McClintock's job to get on the end of it was relatively simple. And he's a happy fellow, the captain of Arsenal. 1-1 the scoreline. Radford spending a fair bit of time forward in a left side position is John Samuels on a substitute for Pat Rice. Charlie George waiting for Story to make the run. Hartford is going to score an own goal. Hartford has scored an own goal, and he is 6-6-6-6-6. John Kay. Wild little touch on for Aspel. And now Tony Brown. Tony Brown, as we've just said, so little of the game for him to see in the second half. Almost inspired by my words, and drags a goal back for West Bromwich Albion with 4 minutes to go. 2-2 the score.
The first reward for Arsenal's fine season went to captain Frank McClintock, the player of the year, for a combination of his ability and leadership. He claimed that the trophy really belonged in the Arsenal dressing room. Bill Shankly said of him, his head isn't big, but his heart is, a real competitor. But when it came to real competition, the game which was sure to make the sparks fly was at Elland Road, between the two sides who'd been contesting the championship all season. For Arsenal at the top of the table by 1 point, there were 2 games remaining after this one. Leeds had only 1, so the pressure was really on them. And they also had to play Liverpool in the European Fairs Cup semi-final 48 hours later. It was a game of tension, excitement, mistakes, and finally of controversy. The controversy came 2 minutes from the end. The ball is snapped through to Jack Charlton. Surely he's offside. A rebound off the post, McNabb's desperate effort, but it's in and it stands. Leeds are ahead as Arsenal's protests begin. They know they'll never come back from this one if it's allowed to stand. Leeds celebrate, it's a goal they think, which has kept them in the championship hunt. The referee, Norman Burtonshaw from Great Yarmouth, the man who'll take charge of the cup final, is mobbed. The players, not the only protesters. But defensively, the police were strong with goal scorer Jack Charlton sweeping up. The Arsenal players understandably distraught. A few days later, after they'd seen the video replay of the incident, they acknowledged the referee and the linesman had been right. But here the result stands. Leeds go back to the top of the table. But victory in the penultimate game against Stoke, while Leeds were finishing their season with a win over Nottingham Forest, meant Arsenal's destiny was still in their own hands. Even before they'd won a trophy, the honours were beginning to flow, as slowly but surely the years of playing in the shadow of the great Arsenal teams of the past were put firmly behind them. There was a welcome break to receive the honorary freedom of the London Borough of Islington, conferred on them for their success, for their consistently high standards of sportsmanship, and not least for the pleasure they brought to the people of Islington, at the same time maintaining Arsenal's highest traditions. Yet everyone in the borough, the club and the country was well aware, as the Lord Mayor made the presentation to Arsenal's chairman, Mr. Dennis Hillwood, that their chances of getting their hands on the exclusive double now rested on just 2 matches. It was incredible that the match that would decide the championship should be at White Hart Lane of all places, against the old rival. The game attracted a gate of almost 52,000. Police estimated as many as another 50,000 were locked out. The issue crystal clear. A win or a goalless draw would win the championship. Anything else, inconceivable. A week earlier, all had seemed lost at Leeds 2 minutes from the end. At White Hart Lane, the timing was the same, the situation very different. Frankly, Arsenal never looked like losing this one. And Spurs had Pat Jennings to thank on a number of occasions. But in the 88th minute, Arsenal made certain of the points and the championship through Ray Kennedy. The match winner, the championship winner. An incredible finale for Arsenal, their supporters, and particularly for young Kennedy. Still only 19, drafted into the side at the beginning of the season only because of injury to more experienced players. He ends the season as the club's leading scorer and a national hero. But of course they still had those last frantic seconds to endure. And then the final whistle. Arsenal are the champions, confirmed in the last 2 minutes of the last game of a 9-month season. And if they couldn't win it at Highbury, what better place than White Hart Lane, where 10 years before Spurs had won the double. So Arsenal's 29th victory, they're the 1971 champions. There was very little time to enjoy the post-match champagne or the Tuesday morning headlines because training began the next day for the FA Cup final. And Arsenal, the champions, had been left sitting pretty and permanently on top of the First Division. In the FA Cup, they'd survived away draws in every round. Psychologically, they were well equipped.
To me, Liverpool was saying yesterday they thought the Arsenal side might be a bit drained out after this long battle for the league, are they?
Yes, well, Liverpool are very good at making statements of this nature. It's part of the war of nerves that they practice. It doesn't cut much ice with us. We're not drained. If anything, we're going into the cup final in a better frame of mind, indeed, than last Saturday, for instance.
It's 10 years now since Spurs did the double. If you do it on Saturday afternoon, would that be a more considerable footballing achievement, do you think?
Yes, I think so. I think the game is now much more difficult than it was. It's becoming more and more difficult to earn and win points. And I think any club at the present time and in the years to come who can do the double, with all the pressures and extra games that we have to contend with, I think have proved themselves probably better than their counterparts 10 and 30 years ago.
Bill Shankly's Liverpool had everything going for them in their FA Cup run. They'd had home draws for every round. They conceded only 1 goal in the competition, and that was in the semi-final against Everton. And they were fresher, they said, and well prepared. Yet Arsenal's competitive edge, their winning streak, wasn't going to disappear just because they'd done the hard bit. Bertie Mee and Don Howe had led them through many tough battles together in 9.5 months. Could they reach the heights one last time?
And McClintock winning that one well in the air. George Graham, a nice little touch off there for Charlie George. And he let that one go! He really does strike those balls beautifully. to Story. Radford. Armstrong's made a run towards the far side. Armstrong! My goodness, that was close! Armstrong completely undetected. Reluctant to go, but they'll have to go. Smith standing over the ball. Also close at hand we have Callaghan. And there's Callaghan playing it off for Lindsay, left-footed. Oh, fine save now. Can Roller turn it back? Good work by Wilson. McNabb. And now Radford. Oh, trying to lift that over Smith's head. He lifts it forward to Kennedy. Oh, what a miss. That was some fine work there as Kennedy applauding his fellow striker Radford. McNabb again. Story to lead for this one and beaten though. And Charlie George to belt it. My goodness, he hit that. There's nobody on this field who hits a sweeter ball than Charlie George, but that was wide. But it had tremendous power. Kennedy to Charlie George. Swung towards the left, and there's Kelly and Radford here. Kelly. Radford. And a first-time cross there. Kennedy turning it there. Made that very nicely indeed. Was always leading his defender by half a yard. But it's Radford to take it. To summon up an effort for a long one. George Graham will try and flick it on. My goodness, he almost got it there. And flicked away finally. With the skipper doing a skipper's job, the number 4, Tommy Smith. And now the corner. Oh, and almost there again by Graham. And Liverpool in terrible trouble until Larry Lloyd finally gets it away from Graham's header. And now Thompson to Hughes, pounding away. Highway over on the far side, covered by McClintock. Highway versus McClintock. And Highway turning it back, and Wilson there. Off the foot of Bob McNabb. John Howe suffering as well. And Bertie Mee. Lloyd. A non-side. Trying to make something of it. And Kennedy's all right. He's onside. Oh, just past that post. Tossing up again to see which end they shall play. And we really could have a most dramatic period of extra time now. Lloyd winning it again. Hughes to Thompson, and away on the left is Highway. Still Highway, dangerous indeed! Oh, goal! Oh, that's the goal! Steve Highway for Liverpool! The man who has done so little in the game has made the one big strike.
And here it is now, it's the first time he's taken his man on in the game. He's streaked for that line, which he loves doing. Bob Wilson had come too far off his post there, and it was in on the near post. Really, a goalkeeper shouldn't be beaten like that. In fact, we've seen Highway do that before on television. Squeeze it in where the ball shouldn't go.
Kennedy. George and Kennedy again. Radford. Back over his head. Kelly is right in there, playing much more as a striker in this extra time. And it's there! George Graham! It's George Graham who got the touch and makes it 1-1. So 1-1 now. Kelly, who was right up there amongst the strikers.
Well, it was a kind of muddled goal this. The ball went up high. John Radford flicks it up and takes a chance. Says, somebody go for that. And Eddie Kelly goes for it, although he's got no chance. And as the Liverpool defenders dither, George Graham's there, gets a toe to it, and it dribbles past Clements into the net.
And the end of the first period of extra time. 15 minutes to go. whether it's in any way significant or not, it seems that Arsenal are much more prepared now to go on with this game. Liverpool hanging back a little bit. The long ball for Kennedy, and Kennedy is onside. But he hadn't quite got the power to get there, and Tommy Smith had a tremendous piece of defence. Smith giving the linesman a few words. He thinks that Kennedy was offside. But Mr. Q said no, he wasn't. A superb piece of defence by Smith for all that. Lloyd has played well, and Clements, two great heroes in this Liverpool defence, and Smith. But we're going to have Bradford, who looks as though he's going to take another long throw. Aiming again towards George Graham. Law, in fact, who's got a hit in that one. Simpson! Turned it back over his own head. Graham, Bradford, Charlie George. Bradford. Oh, Charlie George, who can hit him! Oh, a great goal! Charlie George! Oh, what a fabulous goal by George! Clements had no chance with that. And that puts Arsenal into the lead.
What a marvellous goal there from Charlie George. Absolutely superb. A good ball there from John Radford. He sees his moment and then whack. Look how far it is from the post. Inches. Fantastic goal.
And now we have the sign of Arsenal players on the ground. Graham was down, Rice was down, they're on their feet again, and the Arsenal crowd are absolutely delirious because Arsenal now are less than 10 minutes away from doing the double. They come from North London. And it's all over, and Arsenal have won, and they've done the double. Frank McClintock, his losing streak at Wembley is over. 4 times here a loser, and now a brave and brilliant winner. Liverpool players lying exhausted on the turf, shattered after going up, and then falling behind. So Arsenal, what a week. On Monday they clinched the league championship, and 5 days later they complete the double. No wonder he's smiling. A word for Chris Lawler. Even the clock are paying tribute, I fancy, to their own brave heroes and to the Arsenal as well, because that's the sort of fair-minded crowd that come from Liverpool. Well done, the cop. A magnificent double, says the scoreboard for the Arsenal. Hard luck, Liverpool, and nobody would argue with that.
Now, I thought that the first Arsenal goal was scored by George Graham, and so too did practically every journalist in the press box. We can show you now that, in fact, it was scored by Eddie Kelly. You'll see John Radford lift the ball over his own head, high into the air, and Eddie Kelly will challenge for it. What you've got to watch out for in a moment is as George Graham comes in to make his late challenge. There's Kelly going for the ball, and it'll come off the chest of Tommy Smith, and Kelly will get another touch. Now watch Graham coming in from the right of the picture. Does he touch that ball? We say he doesn't.
First Division champions, FA Cup winners, an immense double achievement. Questioned, even criticised, the facts told their own historic story. There could be only one verdict.